PC Andrew Harper had only been married for 4 weeks when he was tragically killed. He was dragged behind a speeding getaway car following an attempted robbery that went wrong. His wife, Lissie, is now campaigning for so-called Harper's Law, which would see a life sentence given to anybody found guilty of killing an emergency services worker while committing a crime. The 3 teenagers who were responsible for Andrew's death were convicted of manslaughter and they were jailed for up to 16 years.
Well, Lissie is hoping that the Home Secretary's speech at the Police Federation conference today will provide an update on the progress of Harper's Law. Penny Lancaster, who recently became a special constable, is supporting Lissie in the Light the Lakes charity walk. Takes place next week and it supports bereaved families. And they both join us now. It's very good to see you here in the studio, Lissie, because we were saying we've spoken to you on the programme before.
Yes.
But it's lovely to have you in. Firstly, how are you doing?
I always find that question quite difficult, to be honest. OK, very busy, but focused on Harper's Law and trying to get it through, really.
Being busy, presumably, is helpful.
Yes, yeah, I think especially with this kind of thing, it just gives you something to focus on and, you know, it's just so important to me. I couldn't think of anything I, you know, need to be doing more, you know, for everyone, but also for Andrew.
Harper's Law, tell us what it would change for people convicted of being responsible for the death of an emergency services worker.
So, if somebody were to go out and commit a crime and ultimately cause the death of an emergency worker, they would then see themselves spending, you know, an adequate amount of time in prison instead of, you know, what I believe to be inadequate, which would result in a life sentence.
Because currently you would get a life sentence with a minimum term if you were found guilty of murder. The problem, I expect, particularly in your case, is if that person responsible for the death of an emergency services worker is not convicted of murder.
The thing with, I mean, I don't want to get involved into manslaughter and murder because it's just going to confuse things. Ultimately, what Harper's Law is its own conviction. Yes. So hopefully that will stand in between. And the problem with murder and manslaughter is that the line is just so fine between them. And in my mind, it doesn't matter. You know, if you're going out and committing a crime and you have that intent to cause death or serious injury, then you know what you're getting involved in.
It's been a while now, but can you just remind us of your feelings when the sentences were handed down on those 3 people? What did you on that day? What did you think when you heard what their prison time was going to be? Yeah.
I thought, well, this isn't right. This is not justice. You know, our justice system is here for a reason and it's not working.
Because they may not have gone out with the intention of killing anybody, but they knew perfectly well that your husband of 4 weeks was trapped on the rope behind the car. They knew what they were doing as they were driving away, all of them in the car. They knew, didn't they? And in that moment, in a sense, they did intend to kill because they didn't care.
Any moment when somebody is evading the police, they know there's a certain amount of risk. And driving at those speeds as well is, you know that there is a very high chance that you're going to cause serious injury or death to anyone.
How are you preparing yourself for the day? And it's not that far away, actually, in life terms. When they come out of prison, how are you going to feel when that happens?
That's not something I'm focusing on. I think that I've got a job to do, and that's what I need to do, and that will ensure that families in the future don't have this feeling. That
I suppose it makes a kind of sense out of this terrible thing. Something positive comes out.
It's all I can do, isn't it? I can't change the sentences. I've tried, and that's not something that's within my power. So this is something that I can do.
Yeah. Issue a life sentence for those responsible for the death of loved ones like yours, emergency service workers.
Exactly.
That's your purpose, that's your mission.
Yeah, and it's not just the police. It's now more than ever, it's just so clear that we need this. You know, even their NHS workers, there's 200 assaults a week from, you know, and that sort of thing, and that's just not OK.
And when you say life, do you mean absolutely life until they never see daylight again? Or do you mean life in the sense that we understand it now legally, that it's 15 years, isn't it? It's a 15-year sentence.
So we're in discussions about the actual term, but no, it's not a whole life sentence.
No.
I think that's the confusion. It's called a life sentence, and that means that it will be a proportionate amount of time instead of, you know, a few years.
Yes.
And the key thing, I think, about that is you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, there are only a tiny number of whole life orders which are ever given out. It's a very controversial issue, and it's one we were discussing on the programme yesterday. But the issue about being issued a life sentence is that you would then effectively be monitored. You'd always be under that sentence.
Yeah, you'd be on licence.
Yeah,
and that's the important thing.
And that would feel to you like justice, because I think what you feel, Lissie, is you were robbed of justice for the loss of your husband. I don't
feel that somebody who's taken someone's life, especially in such a barbaric way, deserves to just continue in the way that they would otherwise.
Penny Lancaster, you're supporting Lissie, and I know you're taking part in a charity event together. You have only recently become a special constable yourself, and you were just telling me that effectively means you're exactly the same as any other police officer, but just with one significant difference. You don't get paid.
Don't get paid, yes.
You have all the powers of a police officer.
Have all the powers.
And all the risks.
Yes.
As well.
Associated with that. What was amazing with Andrew, when he was 19, he actually signed up as a special constable for the first year of his service before he joined as a regular. And if you think about that, at 19, he swore an oath to the Crown and with the consent of the public, did a duty to serve that public. And the driver of that car was 19. And look what he went and did.
What do you think of the sentences that they were given?
Well, sadly, they are far too low. About 20,000 assaults on emergency workers last year, and 90% of them were on police officers. It's far too high. And the fact that police officers do work with the consent of the public, when there is an assault on any police officer or emergency worker, then that is an assault on the state, and therefore, you know, an assault on all public. And it has to go through the Harper's Law. And as we mentioned, Lissie and I will be joining in COP's Care of Police Survivors walk to raise awareness and funds for a charity that support the families of those officers that are left behind.
Why have you joined the police, Penny? I mean, it's quite late in life to do it. You say Andrew was 19 when he volunteered.
Yes.
What was the process that went through your brain that made you decide to do it?
I always think it's important to campaign for things like Harper's Law and to get involved in charity and give back to community. And I couldn't think of anything more powerful.
Sorry, I don't think you heard my question. What made you join the police?
Yes, I was just...
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Right, carry on.
No, I was saying, I think the campaigning that I do, the charity work that I do, this is just an extension of working for the community and for the good of people, just as a charity would in any other way. So it's free of charge. So I'm giving up my time to help the community, and that's why I wanted to become a police officer, to be out there. I'm on foot patrol once a week in the City of London, in the Square Mile, and you know, the first job of a police officer is the preservation of life and property.
Yeah.
And that's at the forefront, and they deserve to be looked after.
And how has it been when you've been out on patrol?
Amazing. I mean, nobody's recognised me, because
Really?
I'm in uniform. I've got my my stab vest, my armour, my baton, cuffs. You know, I'm dressed just as a regular, because we have the same powers as a regular. And
Have you made any arrests?
Not yet. I've had 5 duties so far. It's been interesting. I've even, you know, when you think of policing, you think of the most violent crimes, but in fact, we're out there to help the most vulnerable. And at this particular time, there's a lot of incidences on the bridges, and I did help assist someone that was pretty desperate on the bridge the other night. So it can be rewarding in so many ways.
You saved a life, Penny, didn't you?
That's what policing does. So we've got to look after the police and make sure when their lives are taken, punishment is given.
What does Rod think about this? Did he try and dissuade you? Because it's dangerous.
It is dangerous, yeah. But, I mean, the thing is, the police are the public are the police. There's women and men alike, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties. We're just the regular people, but we put that uniform on to help protect.
But given the danger, did Rod try and talk you out of it?
Not at all.
No? He's right behind it, is he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know you're being very low-key about it, Penny, but as you say, it isn't just violent crime. You know, you had an extraordinary responsibility when you talked to somebody who had the worst, lowest, darkest thoughts. And that in itself is an extraordinary job to do. And that's perhaps some of the sort of unpublicised work of police officers, to talk someone down in their lowest moments. Did you feel the weight of that responsibility in that moment?
I had the right training, and I think from the experiences, the life experiences I've had, that's probably why I feel like I belong in the force at the moment, because, you know, I'm at that age where I've been there and done it kind of thing, and, you know, having children of my own, and so I felt that I was prepared for that moment. But, of course, you never know until you're there.
Well, full respect for you. Let's just come back to Lissie here. Now, we've said it in the introduction to this that the Police Federation are being addressed by the Home Secretary today, Priti Patel. Any idea what she's going to say about this?
I'm hoping she will continue to show her support. And
Because she is supportive, isn't she?
she's very supportive, yeah. I've been pleasantly surprised with the proactiveness, especially of the MOJ. You know, they've been working really hard. But I'm not going to kind of stop until we get it as soon as possible. So.
And then what will you do with your life? When hopefully this campaign will be successful for you. What then?
Have a sleep.
You deserve a rest, but you know, it is a really important purpose for you, and it's a really important change you want to see, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's important that the public realise why Harper's Law is just necessary. Yeah, really necessary.
Yeah.
What's an extraordinary change in your life there? I mean, if you could go back in time and look into this and look ahead and see what you would be doing now, it's utterly life-changing, isn't it?
Yes, completely.
Yeah. What would you like to say about Andrew this morning, Lissie?
So many things. I mean, Andrew was just the epitome of you know, a police officer. He was devoted and dedicated to his job, but also he was just a kind and loving person. And, you know, we all miss him very much. But, you know, that's partly why I'm doing Harper's Law, because somebody needs to stand up for the protectors and the people that are protecting the public. And if no one else is going to do it, then I certainly will. And he'd be, you know, right here beside me, fighting as well.
Well, good luck to both of you in the walk.
Thank you.
Hope it goes really well.
Thank you.
And good luck later today. Hope she says all the things you wanted to say.